The Tale of Stingy Jack and the Legend of the Jack-o'-lantern. So who was Jack-o'-lantern and why do we carve him into pumpkins? Well, there's a couple of explanations for this. The most common explanation comes from Irish legend, that Jack-o'-lantern was once a man known as Stingy Jack. Jack was a drunkard and a deceitful, manipulative, unpleasant so-and-so, as well as being stingy. One night, word about Jack and his vile antics even reached the ear of the devil himself, who apparently couldn't believe that anyone would be as bad as the stories made out. So the devil decided to seek out Jack to see for himself if the tales were true. The two met and Jack immediately realised that he was in big trouble. But being a cunning and manipulative man, he sought a way out. He asked the devil to let him have one last pint of ale before the devil took him off to hell. The devil agreed. After all, it seemed like a reasonable request. Off they went to the pub, where Jack ordered a lot more than just one pint. When time came to pay, Stingy Jack lived up to his name, faking a lack of cash with which to pay his bar bill, and the devil wasn't exactly carrying around any coins either. Jack persuaded the devil to change into a silver coin with which he could pay, before then reverting back to his usual self after the bartender had been fooled. The devil was kind of impressed by this deviousness, and so into a coin he changed. However, Jack did not pay the bartender. Rather, he placed the devil coin in his pocket, where he also kept a crucifix, and legged it out the pub. The devil was unfortunately now trapped by the presence of the crucifix and demanded Jack let him out. Jack agreed, on one term. The devil had to spare Jack's soul for 10 years. The devil had no choice but to agree. 10 years came and went, and Jack was still up to his tricks. The devil confronted Jack again, and this time Jack asked for an apple to feed his rumbling tummy before the trip down to hell. The devil agreed, although you would have thought that by now he'd be far more wary. But no. The devil climbed up into a nearby apple tree to grab an apple, but the tree was filled with crucifixes, so again the devil was trapped and had to beg to be released. Jack asked this time that the devil promised never to take his soul to hell. The devil agreed. Years passed, and eventually Jack died. His soul was barred from entering heaven because of his bad deeds and deceitfulness, so he could not go there, and he'd already made the devil promise never to take him to hell. As a result, Jack's soul ended up wandering the earth forever. The devil took a little pity on the man and gave Jack an ember from the burning fires of hell with which to guide his wandering way. As an ember is too hot to handle, Jack carved himself a little lantern from a turnip. The tale goes on to explain that the reason we carve the lanterns and light them is to guide Jack and other lost or wandering spirits on their way, and to keep them going on their way so they don't get any ideas about settling anywhere near or in our homes. The other, much less well-known version is that Jack-o'-lantern is the king of the Cornish piskies, a kind of fairy indigenous to Cornwall in England. His wife and queen is Joan the Wad, wad being a Cornish term for a bundle of straw tied together and lit as a torch, so both are seen as fire fairies or spirits. There's an old rhyme about the two. Jack-o'-lantern, Joan the Wad, that tickled the maid and made her mad. Light me home, the weather's bad. Here Jack-o'-lantern and Joan the Wad are the torches people used in times past to light their way home, kind of like the modern streetlight, I guess, or the way people use the lights of their phone when there's no lights to guide them. These two fairies can also be representative of the supernatural or fairy lights that lead us astray, like Will-o'-the-Wisp, who lures people to their deaths in bogs and mires. In fact, Will-o'-the-Wisp, which really means William of the Torch, seemed to be the East Anglian version of the jack-o'-lantern, and both terms were originally used to refer to the visual phenomenon of ignis fatuus, or the marsh lights, where the decay of organic substances leads to a biological or chemical reaction that creates faint lights. Again, with the Pisky King Jack, the idea that we display jack-o'-lanterns is to keep the spirits a wandering and generally leaving us alone. You can still purchase charms featuring Jack-o'-lantern and Joan the Wad today, which are reputed to bless anyone who carries them with luck and protection, and they ensure that their bearer will never get lost when wandering far from home. I hope these pumpkin videos have inspired you to maybe have a go at carving your own jack-o'-lantern to protect your home from wandering spirits, to perhaps use what you've carved out to make a delicious pumpkin pie, and try and leave out some of the pumpkin seeds for the birds who'll really appreciate it at this time of year. Happy Halloween!